Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Hello, hello, and welcome to our Energies and Opportunities monthly broadcast. Broadcasting here on December 21st, 2024. We'll be looking at the remainder of the month of December and then go on all through the month of January. We want to welcome you. We're excited to be with you again today for our monthly broadcast. And we do this to share the news of upcoming planetary energies for the remainder of December and for the entire month of January 2025. I'm Carola Eastwood.
And I'm Chetan Parkin.
If you're new to our evolutionary human design community, we want you to know that we're delighted to have you with us. Every month we produce a complimentary broadcast and we delve into the main themes playing out for the coming month. We share the meaning of the planets as they move through both the astrological and the human design energies to reveal the upcoming changes and the opportunities that are available to us all. And there's much to delve into at this very pivotal time. So I'm going to start out talking a little bit, and then we'll segue over to Chetan, and we'll just go back and forth looking through both the astrological and the human design perspective. But we want you to know that for a more in-depth look at how to get daily guidance about how to use the energies of our time, how to apply them into your life for your greatest success, we do offer a group program, and it's a very, very affordable group program, and it's now open for registration. Take a look at evolutionaryhumandesign.com, energies/opportunities, or you can go to our website and click on the trainings tab and just drop down to energies and opportunities at the top. This is a very popular program. We kept it purposely very, very affordable because we really want to support each of you in your whole process throughout the year. So this is a great tool. We're also offering our once yearly human design reading special, and that includes a 90-minute, very deep dive session with Chetan, as well as a bonus 1-hour coaching session with me. If ever there was a time to do a deep dive into your human design and to really take a look at your success options for the coming year, this really is the time. If for those of you who are active on our mailing list, you'll be receiving emails on this promotion. Just click through any one of them to read about it. Or you can go to our website at any time and click on the readings tab at the top, and you'll see the human design reading. Okay, so now let's take a look at this really extraordinary month. We know that some of you were with us on our broadcast that we did a couple of weeks ago, December 7th, for our yearly overview broadcast. But for those of you who missed it, in the broadcast, we announced the name for the upcoming year, 2025, pushing the bounds of possibility in a time of tumultuous change.
Pushing the bounds of possibility in a time of tumultuous change.
Yeah.
That's it. Carol and I spent quite a bit of time looking through everything that's coming up in 2025, and we're all going to find our minds blown. We're going to find all kinds of things are being offered to us, and the whole thing is, can we maintain our center while all this stuff is going on?
Yes, yes, that's so true. And you know, it's no random accident that we're all here together. And we're gathered together right now in our community at this time of humanity's big leap into the new age, the age of Aquarius, finally here. With the planet of transformation, Pluto, having now firmly moved into Aquarius for the next 16 years, this is a year for big leaps, for massive changes, and for rapid technological innovation. And we're all called upon to support in the global awakening. Let's take a look now at the remainder of December before we launch into 2025. So at the winter solstice, when the sun enters Capricorn, which actually happened earlier today, it marks the beginning of a 3-month period of specific planetary dynamics. At the solstice period, the sun forms, the sun goes into 0 degrees of Capricorn, and as it does that this year, it forms a really tight angle called a square, a 90-degree angle, to the moving soul path for all humanity, or the North Node in Aries, the South Node in Libra. And what that suggests is a really deep dive, recalibration of our sense of our purpose and our direction for the coming times. Specifically, we need to balance our personal needs and desires with the needs of others in personal relationships and intimate relationships. On December 22nd, we have a third quarter moon at 1 degrees of Libra, and that highlights that solstice theme of up-leveling the quality of our relationships. So this theme is going to be true for personal love relationships, but it's also relevant to our relationships with business partners and affiliates, anybody with whom we have a mutual kind of understanding and deep relationship. So here we are on the winter solstice, and the lunation happens, we have a third quarter moon tomorrow, December 22nd, and it contains within it a mystical rectangle. And the mystical rectangle is a very specific astrological aspect that implies that there's a bit more than our normal sort of working things out for ourselves, but there's a bit of a sense of destiny about it all. And this particular rectangle involves the conjunction of the North Node and Neptune. So the North Node is the path we're moving on now, what the direction we're going in now, and the North Node currently in Aries. So fired up to go in a new direction. Conjoining Neptune at the later degrees of Pisces. And it's also that conjunction is in favorable aspect with Pluto just into Aquarius, also with the moon and with Mars. And so what this brings us is the potential for really clear vision on what needs to be recreated in our lives, in our work, and in our love life to be more rewarding and more fulfilling. And since December 20th, the planet of love, Venus, has been in Aquarius and in a very favorable trine, which is a flowing 120-degree aspect to the planet of expansion, Jupiter. So, of course, Jupiter expands whatever it touches. And so when it expands Venus, we can be having a time of delightful overspending. On the 24th and 25th of December, Venus finds harmony with Chiron and Aries, and it ignites a time of healing for those of us who are in relationship, a time of healing with those that we love. Very powerful and beautiful that it happens right at this time. Then on the next day, on December 26th, Mercury in Sagittarius is going to go into a square, which is a 90-degree angle, generally bringing some challenge. Of course, there's always a reward working through the challenge. But the challenge here with Saturn squaring Saturn in Pisces, opposite Jupiter in Gemini. So we've got Mercury in Sagittarius, opposite Jupiter in Gemini, and both of them squaring Saturn in Pisces. Essentially, that gives us a reality check on how viable our plans for personal growth and business expansion truly are. Given the retrograde of Mars through late February, our plans are going to need time for refinement, and that time's likely going to take us through the coming month of January.
So definitely amazing times. And the winter solstice, the 21st of December, is always a time to kind of review. It's in the northern hemisphere, it's the darkest day of the year. In the southern hemisphere, it's the brightest day of the year. So there's definitely kind of potential to switch our moods, switch our sense of where we are in life. You know, the festive season hard upon us if we can. So it's to say that with this Mars retrograde, which started in November, and it basically is having us review everything we're up to. And Mars is, you know, Mars is all about our activity, how we put energy out into the world. And in this point in time, it's going through all the gates in the throat center, and it's the gateways that get us into states of manifestation, expressing what we want, what we need, what we expect out of life. And so Mars is having this opportunity for us to completely review what it is we're up to. And I know I've been talking with a number of people, they're just telling me whatever was going on before, gone. We're having to completely revamp our business, revamp our lives, we're moving, all kinds of things are going on. So just for all of us to be aware of that and not to be too concerned about it all. One of the major features that's going on at the moment as well is this interaction between Jupiter and Neptune. And in the human design context, they're making up, by transit, they're making up a channel for all of us. And this channel goes on right to the end of January, and then it kicks in again in February and goes on further on into 2025. So just, it's worth noting what this channel is all about, the 3536. It's about entering into experiences in a way that it could be a very quick study. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt, moving on. And so, like I say, very amazing, all the things that are going to come and want to draw our attention this way, that way, you know, scandal, exciting things, opportunities, things to buy, you know, all kinds of potential experiences in our life. And of course, we always say, you know, it's fabulous when this kind of energy comes around. It's a manifesting energy. And all of us can really be surprising, taking on new experiences in our lives. But the whole thing is to do so from our own center, from our own source of clarification in ourselves. It is an emotional channel. You may be feeling quite a bit more emotional at the moment, you know, bright shining object. Ooh, that's amazing, you know. But, and as Carola says, you know, great opportunity to overspend on things, you know, oh, I want that. So just to be aware what it is that's going on in that regard. Now, the two planets, Jupiter, as Carola says, it's the planet of expansion, all kinds of things happen. We call it the master planet in the sense that it really energizes us to get involved in things. And it's this gate of 35, which is the gate of progress. Moving on, let's try something different. Been there, done that, next. And so the 36 on the other end of it is Neptune. Now, Neptune is really a fascinating energy. We say love for love's sake because we can't really understand what Neptune's all about. You know, we think love has just anything to do with relationship. But actually love evolves into all kinds of different dimensions. And the fact that Neptune's in this gate 36 and it's in the higher numbers of that. So it's basically questioning us, what are our beliefs? What are the beliefs that sustain us in our life? And so if I'm saying this is a channel of versatility where this, that, and the other, all kinds of things are drawing our attention, becoming capable for us to be involved in, then it's really for us to recognize, is this something that really resonates with me? Is this something that it's a challenge and the challenge excites me to go on and deal with it and go through with it? The 36 in itself, from the original Chinese, it's called darkening of the light. As though you're on the edge of something, and as you look into it, the further you look into it, the darker and darker it's like, oh, this looks complicated. I've never seen this before. I haven't had this experience before. I'm not quite sure what to do. And as long as one kind of gets involved in, oh, I don't know that I'm going to be able to make it, I don't think I can manage this, then of course nothing is going to happen. But the moment we say to ourselves, hang on a minute, the light's inside me, you know, it's up to me whether I step forward into this adventure or whatever. And if I go exploring more and more into, I'm going to say, because it's Neptune, into my spiritual presence here. Mm-hmm. Do we actually need any middlemen here? Is it enough for us to be in our own right, in our own sovereign nature? And that is really the challenge at the moment. Jupiter's amplifying like crazy, and just say, how about looking inwards instead of looking outwards all the time? How about recognizing that the really amazing experiences are the ones you have on the inside? And you get to that point where whatever it is that goes on in the world, you just see this is part of me. This is me involved in it. I don't feel challenged. I don't feel a darkening of the light. I just feel this light of mine can always carry me through everything. So because this channel is present between these two planets for quite a while, I'm just really making a point of this, to pay attention that the light is inside us. And when we establish that, we will recognize it doesn't matter what kind of challenge comes up in front of us. There is always a way through. And it's just up to us to recognize, is this a challenge I want to take on? Is this something that's relevant to me? Or is it just something that's flying by at the moment? Do I need to get all upset about something, or can I just step forward and take everything in my stride? So I make a fuss about this because all of us really need to be on guard with this, because it's so present in our lives at the moment. And just to see a lot of bright, shiny objects, a lot of squirrels going to be running around here, there, and everywhere. And the whole thing for us is to really resonate inside ourselves. Am I stepping forward into this because this is really part of me?
Yeah. And to do things in our own timing, in our own sense, from our own sense of the right moment. I think that's important as well.
Totally. Timing
Yeah,
is absolutely
yeah.
essential.
So every month, we have a new moon, and that new moon starts a 30-day cycle. So interestingly, our new moon, it starts the month of January, but it does it on December 30th. So we've got a new moon at 9 degrees of Capricorn, right here at the last of December coming up on the 30th. It's a great day to set intentions for the month. And for some of us, it might be a great time, the 30th, 31st, the 1st, to set intentions for the year ahead. We have, with this new moon, we've got a favorable aspect with Saturn and Pisces that helps us to bring practicality to our vision. But at the same time, we've got a challenging aspect from Venus, that planet of love and attraction and the enjoyment of all the goodies in life. Venus in Aquarius, and a challenging aspect to Uranus. And that happens on the 27th of December, right before the new moon. And that aspect is also challenging the new moon, underscoring the need for us to be really crystal clear about the viability of our innovations and the availability of resources before we commit to fund new endeavors. So as Shatan was saying, there's this tendency right now, the energy at the end of December is, it's going in so many directions, and there's so many possibilities, and there's so many bright, shiny objects, but what is it that we're crystal clear about that's viable for us to innovate? Where are the resources that are actually available to us to commit to those new innovations? And you ask the question and the answer comes. The other thing that's happening at this time, the planet of communication, Mercury's been in fiery Sagittarius, and it just finished this period of like second guessing ourselves, which is, I don't know, it's always uncomfortable for me. When it was in Saturn, when it was in square to Saturn, which happened on the 26th of December, or it's going to happen on the 26th. And then Mercury's going to move right out of that square into a flowing aspect with the planet of healing, which is Chiron in Aries, which is going to offer us inspiration through connecting with our higher self, our spirit essence, as we enter the new year. So it's a powerful aspect. Yes, you could call it a challenging aspect, but it challenges us to go deeper and higher within ourselves to get to the essence of our truth. We have another planetary change happening. I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go, but the planet Mars, I think all of you know, because we've been talking about, it's been moving in retrograde motion in the sign of Leo. And right here at the end of December, it forms this great triangle flowing aspect to the moving soul path for humanity. So it's giving us a bit of a heads up about what may be coming or what our vision may be for the near future. But then it leaves the sign of Leo and goes into the sign of Cancer, and a different configuration on January 6th, which I'll talk about when we get to that part of the broadcast.
So I'm just going to talk a little bit about this new moon at the end of December. It's always fascinating to see because it's coming a couple of days before the actual beginning of January. And I always think, January the 1st, all right, resolutions, it's a whole new year. And this thing goes back a couple of thousand years, to the whole Roman calendar. And I always get a laugh out of this in a way, Janus was a god, was a Roman god. And Janus had a face looking forwards and a face looking backwards. So, it was that whole opportunity to kind of sum up what had gone on before and look forward into what's coming. But it was also that moment in time where all the debts were collected, all the bills came due. So in a sense, that is something that's been carried down through the ages. And the new year is always fascinating, but in a sense, I'm going to direct our attention towards the human design new year, which happens January 21st, but we'll get there presently. But this new moon that happens, like always, kind of opens up a new possibility for us. And it kind of sets in place a potential attitude that we can carry forward into the month or 2 months or 3 months afterwards. It just kind of sets a tone for things. And this new moon happens in gateway number 38. Now, having spent so much time with human design, with the I Ching, there are certain gateways I just fall in love with. It's like they're so definitive. And the 38 is a gateway that's in the root center, and it's the gateway of opposition, right? That's its official title, opposition. Well, what's it opposed to? What is this opposition? And honestly speaking, when it really comes down to it, it's opposition to BS. It doesn't want to put up with BS. It doesn't want to put up with unfairness, things that are not true. It just doesn't want to deal with that. So here we are in the 38 with the first line. And so this new moon is just echoing this possibility. There's a lot of nonsensical things going to show up. You don't have to buy into it. The first line is called being impartial. No need to worry when a situation can resolve itself. And in a sense, if we can carry that with us into January, all this fuss and palaver that's been going on politically, globally, all kinds of carry on, family interactions, the whole Christmas saga, just to see, okay, let's take a deep breath and see if there were things that were out of balance, things that were not completely cleaned up. Then as we end up the month of December, let's just kind of clear the slate. If something involves us, let's deal with it. If it doesn't involve us, let it be, let it go. But be very much on the alert for BS. There's a lot of crazy things going on in the world at the moment, a lot of scams and fishing expeditions and all kinds of things happening. And, just that thing of keeping absolutely clean and clear in our own life, and to take a deep breath before we enter into 2025 and just say, okay, I'm going to maintain my balance. I'm going to keep my sense of equilibrium as we move forward. I'm going to live in a state of personal honor. And that's the highest form of the 38, is being in that state of honor. I'm going to be honorable, whatever it is that shows up in my life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to talk about
Over to me?
entry into the
Yeah.
new year?
Yeah. Well, so we had our entry into the new year with that new moon that happened on the 30th of December. And that sets the stage for the next 30 days, the cycle for almost all of January. And the next point to pay attention to is the first quarter moon in Aries. And that first quarter moon happens on the 6th of January. It's at 16 degrees, almost 17 degrees of Aries, conjoining Chiron. And Chiron is the planet that is the bridge from the higher self to the lower self. So we have this first quarter moon saying, without this bridging up into our higher self, if we're just living from our rational mind and making decisions, mental sort of decisions, we're really missing out on the higher guidance and the clarity and the inspiration that could be coming through us through being more in touch with our spirit essence. So at this time, the potential is really expansive ideas, but they come to meet the realities of the wisdom and the resources that are needed to get those ideas into form, to get them birthed. And at the same time, Jupiter in Gemini is helping. It's lending this favorable flowing aspect, which brings, again, fresh new ideas for growth. Also at this time of the new moon, Mercury in Sagittarius enters a really powerful, I think it's an exact square to the planet Neptune. So that can lead to some confusion in our thoughts, or some, I thought I had it right, or I thought I knew what I was doing, but now I'm second guessing it. So, if you breathe through those times, it's basically, this aspect can delay creative actions, but it's for the purpose of waiting until we get really crystal clear on our way forward with new endeavors. And that clarity is taking some time to get here. It's happening in stages. Also then Mars, the planet of action, which has to do with our work in the world, continues in its retrograde, its apparent backwards motion in the sign of Cancer. And it forms a challenging aspect with Mercury in early January. And that kind of cautions the need to make adjustments to our plans. Once again, slowing us down, making sure we're really crystal clear, we've got the higher guidance with us, and it's the actions we want to take are doable, they're practical. At this time, Mars is also in a big triangle aspect, which is a flowing aspect to Neptune and Pisces. So once the vision gets really clear, then our highest inspirations get this big green light to move forward. The other thing that's happening at this time, the North Node, I thought this was interesting to comment on because it's the North Node in the very last little bit of Aries, in 1 degree of Aries, forms this exact, again, favorable aspect, linking aspect with Pluto. Pluto, the planet of transformation, Pluto in Aquarius now. And what that does is it reveals the inner transformation that's needed for us to be able to make the leap into a new way of working and a new way of relating. So it's a powerful catalytic time, maybe not the easiest time, but it's catalyzing us into our next best version of ourselves.
Funny, I was just going to remark on something of a similar nature, looking at the nodes. From the human design perspective, the North Node is in gateway number 25 and has been for a month or two. And the 25 is the gateway of innocence. So all of us, in a sense, we're kind of questioning, this is where we're coming from, and, where's things going to go? Because we're all aware there's some substantial changes taking place in attitude in this world. On so many different levels, things are changing. And so coming into a state of innocence, we have to realize sometimes we just don't know. We don't know what's coming. And it's fine to be honest and honorable in that space. And we are actually moving into a different level of spirituality at this time. And however one equates one's life with our spiritual nature, whether we like it or not, the frequencies are changing. And we're being reminded of our innocent nature again, that really we're on this little blue blob in the middle of nowhere, this little planet here, we're all in the same boat, whether we like the people next door or not, or across the waters or whatever, we're all the same thing. And it's time to get it together, time to get in tune with each other and get a life, put in very simple terms.
Yeah.
As we enter into 2025, the sun is in gateway number 38. So we had the new moon in 38. And we're in this life theme we call tension. And we start out every year in January with this life theme of tension. And tension is all about pulling it together. If you're a sailor, you like to tighten the ropes so the sail catches the most of the wind. If you're playing an instrument, you tune up the strings so that it comes out with the right frequency. So it's just something of that as we enter into it. It's like getting everything into a balance to start out the year. And it feels a little awkward. And then all of a sudden on the 3rd, the sun goes into the 38 line 5, and we enter into this life theme we call individuality. And so after this little bit of tension, kind of cleaning up, straightening things out, tightening what needs to be tightened, we have this 2-day period in which we can really recognize our sovereign nature, our individual presence here. We are as important as anybody else on this planet. Now, I know we got people that kind of live on the front pages, of everything, if that's really an interesting place to look. There are people doing fantastic things in life, but there's nobody that's more important than anybody else here. And I'm not talking in communistic terms, I'm talking in reality terms. Every single person on this planet is essential. And so all this energy that we give to other people, oh, they're so important, and it's not really. In the end, we come here to live our own life, and that's the whole thing with it. So expressing our individuality, experiencing that, and then recognizing in the next days the sun goes into the 54, and the 54 is this gate of ambition. So having established an appreciation for our sovereign nature, The 54 is this gate of ambition. What am I going to do with it? Where do I want life to take me? What are the things that really want to blossom through me? And as we're saying, this is a time of expanding the opportunities, expanding the bounds of possibility. So really, it's a game changer, this 2025, that all of us can launch into something very, very different. For a few days, we have the channel 1156, which is the channel of seeking and searching. This is from the 3rd through the 7th of the month. And so Mercury on one end of it, Mars on the other end of it, you know, not only are we kind of considering and communicating about what it is that's we're wanting to explore, and Mars is also giving us energy. Yeah, give it a go. You always had this on your bucket list. You always had this on your list of possibilities. You know, have a look deeper into it. Go for it. We are in a time where Mars is in reverse. You know, it's giving us an opportunity to gather our druthers and go forward into something maybe completely different. You know, tremendous opportunity in that regard. I mean, the AI is coming, the robots are coming, you know, it's a fact. And it's a great time to see, what did I always want to do with my life? You know, where's my entrepreneurial side? And that is the 54. That is the beginning of the push for the entrepreneur to be the small business person, the solopreneur, the entrepreneur, somebody with a small group of people, you know, familial group of people that you work with. So great opportunity in that regard to recognize this is an opportunity of this particular time. So I'm going to hand over to you.
We're really reinventing ourselves at this time.
Well, yes, I mean, that is absolutely the nature of the environment around us at the moment, reinvention.
It certainly is. Well, it should help to have a full moon, because the full moon always brings things into full relief where we really can see them quite clearly. And on January 13th, we've got a full moon at 24 degrees of Cancer, which of course will be opposite the sun in Capricorn. And that full moon should illuminate our awareness about the coming changes to the way that we produce our work and how we make money. And adding to this, Neptune and Pisces in this flowing aspect with the moon brings this very high vision to add, you know, spirit infused inspiration to our new plans. And at the same time, the planet Uranus, which is a planet of change and innovation, going to new levels of awareness, the higher mind, it's in Taurus. And it is also interacting really favorably with the same configuration, bringing really substantial value to the way the favorable energies for new creation are at work in our lives and how we can apply them in our work life, in our business life, of course, in our personal life as well. At the same time now, Venus here January 13th at that full moon is going to join Saturn in Pisces. And Saturn in Pisces has been in a challenge with Jupiter and Gemini for a bit of time now. That challenge continues. But when Venus comes and joins Saturn, it sort of illuminates that challenge. It brings it more into our full awareness. It's going to reveal how, you know, if we just rely on purely mentally derived solutions and plans, they tend to fail. So the idea is that, you know, to prompt us to go to get our inner clarity before deciding on what actions to take, to be really crystal clear. Mercury also now, it's in Capricorn now, and it's interacting really favorably with Venus, the love planet, and that's offering us a fresh perspective on how we access our higher self, you know, through meditation, through listening to our intuition, through taking walks, having time for silence, having time for inner contemplation, and connecting with the divine source, connecting with Divine Mother, allowing that inspiration to come. So the sun in Capricorn also at this time, it's energizing and supporting all these new innovations and breakthrough ideas, because it moves in this very favorable alignment with Uranus and Taurus, and all of that's illuminated the full moon. So we've come through, you know, almost the first half of January with some pretty challenging aspects, really kind of calling us to task to step up and to step through into a new way of being, a new way of seeing things, a new way of interacting and engaging in our life. And now, once we come to the full moon, with those patterns now illuminated, we have the opportunity to take some time to integrate all of the changes, all of the new awareness. And what we'll see is that the planetary energies start, flowing more favorably as we get towards the latter, a little bit further into January. Over to you.
All right. So this full moon, right, shining the light on all of us in our awakened time and in our sleep particularly. But the full moon happens in gateway number 62, right? So I said the new moon started in the 38 line 1, which is an alertness to BS, looking out. If something really involves you, then deal with it. If it doesn't, if it's just some crazy thing, let it be. And then the full moon happens in the gateway number 62. And the 62 is the gateway of expressing details. Or we could say, get it together, right? Get your trip together. And it happens in the 4th line. So it's a voice. And having gone through this reestablishment of a new year and a new start and reacquainting ourselves with our individual nature and just really enjoying in that space, and then having this 1156, this new search going on. We're not saying get racing into stuff until Mars at least starts going direct, but this is a great time to start establishing what are the new concepts that came to me. How am I adjusting to all these things that seem to be happening in the world around me? Am I going to rearrange my life accordingly, or am I going to just carry on and hope for the best that, I'm going to survive whatever the changes are going to be? So the 62 is really saying, look, get it together, get your trip together. And the line is the 4th line, the line of being patient, being watchful for principled opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about bright, shiny objects and squirrels here, there, and everywhere. All kinds of possible things coming up. And here we're saying principled opportunities, right? The ones that resonate well with you, not necessarily the get-rich-quick schemes, or the ones that compromise other people in our life. So it's about really recognizing, the full moon is on this. And it's saying, all right, there's so many possible things to get involved in here, but be really, really particular and really, really clear. What is it that's really calling to you? And are you acting out of a place of honor? Is it an honorable engagement? So, there's all kinds of things on offer, and it's up to us to establish what is it that really appeals to us. So at this time, the sun is, of course, in gateway number 61, opposite the 62. The 61 is the gateway of inner truth. And so that just adds to the whole picture here of recognizing what is it that really resonates within me? What is a truthful engagement here that's really calling to me? And how can I engage with it? How can I get involved in it? So remember, at the same time, 35, 36, Jupiter is in the last few days of being in gateway number 35 for now. This channel of versatility, one thing after the other, like a very quick learning time to look at something, see if it really resonates with you. All right, seen enough of it, not going any further with it. Let's have a look at something else. And we're saying not to get absolutely wholeheartedly involved in anything yet. This is about doing an internal shift in a sense. Many people come to Carola and I because they're coming out of corporate and they want to get something going on their own behalf. And very often we'll say to them, look, there's a way of doing this. It's not like all of a sudden you're out of there and it's like then the next day you're going to start something different. It's about kind of maneuvering gently out of one thing into another. You start off 20-80, 20% of energy into the new and 80% you keep going with the old, and you keep things going. You don't all of a sudden cut your resources. And slowly, when the 20% starts working better and better, you move 30-70. And then you give more energy to your entrepreneurial efforts. And then you move 40-60. And then you come to that magic moment, 50-50, and you're in that balance now. Do I see the way forward? So there's a lot of that as a potential in the beginning of 2025, just to see all kinds of things on offer, huge changes going on in the world. what resonates with me?
Mm.
Where am I going to come out at the end of the day saying, I am so fulfilled in doing what I do?
Yes.
And that's the bottom
That's
line.
the ideal, isn't it?
The ideal of life altogether. You live this life and you go out all sails flying, and it's like, what an amazing life. I feel so fulfilled. I tried everything to the max, and I was honorable while I was at it.
I mean, you know, sometimes we can get this really high inspiration and this absolute clear vision. And it's so inspiring that we just want to run and jump in and just do it. But what the aspects are saying right now, the energy is saying right now, is that's all great. But first of all, be really certain, and then do it with some some planning, and you know, take a more of a step-by-step approach.
Yeah.
Don't just jump off the cliff, you know. Chart your way forward in whatever way that works for you, right?
And that is very much the essence of this full moon in the 62. Get it together, but you know, as Carola says, set up some kind of established.
Have a plan.
Have a plan, right? Get your trip together.
A clear plan, an actionable and workable plan.
Yeah.
And then bring your love, bring your high vision into that. Yeah. I think that's a pretty clear explanation of the planets around that full moon, particularly. Let's move on to the third quarter moon.
Yes.
So the third quarter moon happens on the 21st of January. But before that, the sun is going to complete its transit of Capricorn and enter Aquarius. So the sign of Aquarius, where it's going to join Pluto. So it enters Aquarius on December 19th and immediately joins Pluto, because Pluto's here right at 1 degree of Aquarius. And that really powerfully stimulates the need for transformation, both in our personal lives as well as on the global stage. The third moon that happens on the 21st of January, it's a third moon in Scorpio. And what it does is it brings the impetus to begin putting our new vision into action. You know, taking that first 20% of action, especially as we continue on and we gain more certainty and clarity on the pathway for our new direction. And that should all be getting clear between the time of the full moon and the third quarter moon on January 21st. A lot of that clarity can come, but we need to remember, in terms of acting on that clarity, that Mars, the planet that has to do with our work in the world, our business, the way we make a living, it continues in retrograde motion. It's left, it's retrograded out of Leo and got retrograded back into Cancer, the sign of Cancer, and all the way, it does that all the way until through February 23rd. So the entire month of January and most of the month of February, we have a retrograde Mars, which is saying time to slow down, really get crystal clear, question some things, review what we've done over the past couple of years, see what's viable, see what, if there's still some refinement that's needed. Especially, this will be especially true as Mars opposes Mercury in Capricorn on January 23rd. And then a few days later, it'll enter the square, which is a right angle with Chiron in Aries. And that'll take us into the first few days of February. But basically, these two aspects are both of them are indicating the need for, you know, we've got our clarity, we've got our vision, or at least most of it has come, okay? But there's a need for further research, for further clarification, for better planning, or perhaps for funding. That said, though, the ideas and inspirations that come at this time, this third week in January, from, you know, anywhere from the full moon on, are really bringing high inspiration. It's a time that's profoundly, highly creative. And the other thing that adds to this is Venus in Pisces. It brings this flowing energy that signals really highly positive changes that are on the horizon. So there, you know, Venus is going to bring beauty, it's going to bring inspiration, it's going to bring creativity to our new endeavors. So it's worthwhile taking time and making sure that we've crossed all our T's and dotted all our I's, and we're crystal clear inside, and we have a workable, actionable way of moving forward. That's what I see at that
Okay. So the Human Design New Year happens on January the 21st, when the sun goes into gateway number 41. However, the day before, we know perfectly well that more people than in the whole history of humanity are going to attend the American inauguration for the new administration in Washington, D.C. And it's just because there are so many people going to be involved in that, let's hope they have a nice sunny day for it, you know, and it's not snowing or something. But the life theme for that particular day, with the sun in gateway number 60, and in the closing lines, it's in the life theme we call distraction. And, you know, everybody's kind of gnashing their teeth, you know, what's going to happen this, you know, on day one, you know, is the world going to come to an end, or, you know, all kinds of new programs are going to happen, people are going to be thrown in jail, all kinds of exciting things. And because it's in this life theme of distraction, you know, very easy to get thrown, very easy to get, oh my goodness, you know, there's going to be non-stop chaos for the rest of time. And I just say for all of us, just to be very aware, you know, whether you attend the whole thing or not, you know, just to be aware, this is a great time to reestablish one's own center. Mm. Whatever it is that's going to happen, does it actually directly affect me, or directly affect my family or the people that I cherish in this world? And just to see, it's a distraction. It's politics. It's the same old game played out in different ways. We are going to have in America, the cabinet is going to be an oligarch, billionaire cabinet, you know, same like they have in Russia. You know, it's just a mirror. And, you know, extraordinary things can take place in a very short space of time when this happens. In the end, all of us have to hold our center, have to hold our balance, whatever it is that takes place, whether it affects us directly or not. So just to be aware of that on the 20th, keep taking deep breaths when it looks like things are getting out of hand. On the 21st, the magical day for the Human Design New Year, where the sun goes into gateway number 41. And this opens up the life theme that we call the unexpected. The unexpected. You know, there's that great phrase in life, expect the unexpected. You know, it keeps you on your toes.
Right.
And it's the sun in the 41 is the gateway of the great dream, the great vision, the great possibility. You know, that's why we see it as the Human Design New Year, because the 41 is really the beginning. It's the start codon to all the experiences we're going to have. And it just happens, you know, that channel, the 3536, is still in play for us. So, you know, what are the dreams? You know, the gates are open to having all kinds of amazing experiences, of stepping into a whole new spiritual experience in our life, amplified through Jupiter. So tremendous possibilities for us to kind of really reacquaint ourselves with our spirit nature. That's the bottom line with it all. The material thing's going to go crazy. You know, don't get me started on crypto. You know, all of it's going to go crazy. And it's just, all right, this is
changing so rapidly. It's transforming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people going to be out of a job, and it's like, it's not the end of the world. It's actually, it's a fabulous opportunity to start something different and start something new. So I'm going to say in very particular ways, Venus is in the 22 on that day. The 22 is the gate of grace. That is one thing that really stands out. The nodes are in the 25, the North Node in the 25, this gate of selflessness. I am committed to living my life in an honorable way. I am open to whatever life that wants to give to me. Really reacquainting ourselves with our innocent nature. You know, America's having a second revolution, that's all. You know, Pluto's exactly where it is now, where it was when the British were being moved out. You know, that affiliation to the king in England, non-representation with 2% of tax. I mean, you know, things have changed a bit since then. But it's just to see there's another revolution, and let's hope this is a consciousness revolution, which is exactly what America's all about. America's all about the strength of the individual. You go look at the chart for the 1776 Declaration of Independence. It's a chart of individuality. And so that is our step forward, is to recognize if you are living true to your own nature, you are already ahead of the game, because that's where we're going. And so just be very careful about looking out for yourself. Don't get too excitable about crazy things happening, but do look for the opportunities and see the ones that are really honorable for you, wherever they show up for you in your life. As the sun goes a little bit further towards the end of the month, the sun goes into gateway number 19. That is a very sensitive gate where you start feeling into everybody else's needs and what's going on for everybody else. And the 29th, we have a new moon in the gate 19, this gateway of feeling. What do we really need here? What does the community really need to flower and blossom and grow? And how do people feel like they really belong here? The 19 is also the gateway that opens up our journey into the spiritual quest. It's fascinating like that. So we'll get to talk a little bit more about that in our broadcast towards the end of January. But yeah, very, very amazing month of January. And it's a great opportunity for all of us to find our center, to be clear, to be balanced, to engage with life on our own terms. And that's the bottom line that I have to give.
That's what you have to say. Well, of course, as you pointed out, we'll be back with you on January 25th. And so at that time, we'll take more of an in-depth look at the new moon that's coming up, new moon in Aquarius on January 29th. But just as a quick overview, I'll say that the new moon, which is it's moving from 9 to 10 degrees of Aquarius right here at the end of the month. It initiates a new cycle of experience for all of humanity as the moving soul path. You talked about the North Node moving soul path is leaving Aries and enters Pisces, and it does that right here on the 29th of January. Once it changes signs, it'll stay in the next sign for about approximately 18 months. So we'll now have the moving soul path where it's been charging ahead in Aries, right? Blazing a trail in Aries, now moving through Pisces, saying, it's time to be highly, deeply, profoundly, spiritually guided and spiritually awakened, spiritually aware, and allow spirit to come through us and be the moving factor in our life, because that's what leads to a rich and fulfilling life and a very effective and cohesive humanity. So it's a powerful time of awakening for all of humanity. It's a new awareness being birthed at this time. And it's a need for us to recreate our work or our business so that we're realigning our values to become more and more a channel for global awakening. And I know all of us in our community, in one way or another, we are working towards that awakening. We are contributing towards that awakening. We are awakening ourselves. And the more that we do that, we're touching lives all around us. So, no matter where you are in the world or what your religion is or what your spiritual beliefs may be, we want to just warmly, warmly embrace you as part of our community and say that we wish you a really lovely winter solstice and a very highly creative new year. And we'll be back with you again on the 25th of January to take a look at February, which is also going to be
a very amazing month.
Yes. And we'll look forward to being with you then.
So
meanwhile,
have a wonderful celebration, of whatever shape or form that takes. And we'll see you in the new year. If not before.
If not before. And don't forget to take a look at the readings special. It's a powerful deep dive into your life. It's a life-changing, once in a lifetime immersion into the truth of your being. It's a 2.5 hour deep dive.
It's a transmission.
That is a transmission, and a powerful one. Yeah. So if it calls to you, we'd love to work with you personally. And for all of you, we'll be back next month with news for the coming month of February.
All right.
Many blessings.
Be well. Bye for